afternoon, everyone. My name is Íñigo Cruz. I'm part of the YSE Europeos team, and I will be your guide today in this webinar for the auditors competition. This new opportunity provided by EPSO on the AD7 auditors competition. So, hope you will find useful today's webinar. Let me explain you first of all what is going to be the menu for today. So we will do a short overview on the competition with elements that we think that you should be completely aware of. We will talk about the application, the eligibility, but of course we will add as well our analysis of the test and the resources to prepare the test, some ideas, provided you with some advice on how to tackle it. And finally, of course, we will open the opportunity to raise your questions, to answer to your questions. And connected to your questions, please, we only ask one small thing. Wait until the end. As I said, we will open mics. We will allow you to ask whatever question you want. No problem at all. But what happens that sometimes we have foreseen what is going to be your question. It's already replied in our presentation, but it's not coming in the moment that you want. It's just you're urgent. I want to ask this. This is a very important question. Yes, sure, but wait a couple of slides more because I'm answering that question. So listen now. Again, you don't need to take a lot of notes because we will share with you the PowerPoint we are using. So that's no problem for you. And also you will have access to the video and also with the caption of the speaking that we're doing. So everything should be fine. Just concentrate on following our explanations. And from there, let's see if there is any question left. And with pleasure, we will answer it at the end. Okay. Hope this is clear. The rules are clear of the game. So let's start now with the substance of today's webinar. This is important thing. How many spots we have? How many seats? Well, we have 448. It's a nice number. And you will say, but yes, but imagine there's 5,000 candidates, 10,000 candidates, or 100,000 candidates. These numbers, crazy numbers that we saw in 85 graduates. Whatever it is, you don't need to worry so much about the number of candidates or theoretical candidates because EPSO shares the number of people who register for the competition. So, but you don't know how many people are going to take the exam. You don't know how many are taking the competition seriously. So that's one thing. You don't know maybe at first, but we can know, we can infer that numbers or those numbers from the past, from previous competitions. And from there, we learn that between 25%, 33%, meaning one third of the candidates, they won't show up or they won't, or they will completely fail in the reasoning. It's a kind of a mix. And also this can increase in another 20 up to 20% on candidates who really are taking the exam, but just for looking at it, just for curiosity, out of curiosity, no preparation, nothing. So this is the important thing that we need to retain, that whatever the number is of published by EPSO candidates, you can count that more or less half of that number is a bit more realistic than the number published by EPSO. So 50% of the candidates are gone right from the very first moment, from the very first day, because they are not real candidates. They are not training. They are one shop up. They were completely lost in the exams. So you don't need to worry. Don't concentrate on the numbers. Concentrate on yourselves, on making things right. I mean, if you don't make mistakes, the chances to be on the list are high, are there. It's your own mistakes that will kill you as a candidate, not the success from other candidates. So concentrate on yourself. That's the first advice that we can provide you. And of course, this job in principle is open for the institutions in general. So important things that you need to remember. All of you, once registered, you will be invited to the exam. The exam will be done in principle in one day, following the strategy pursued by EPSO during the last competitions, meaning there will be one fixed date and you cannot change it. But look, I don't like Friday 13. I think it's a very unlucky number, so I want to do it another day. No, not possible. Wait, I'm having very important surgery on that day. I really have to be in the hospital. I cannot postpone that. what can I do? You should contact EPSO and see if possible to reschedule, but only on very justified cases you can reschedule. Another option, if it's only because you don't like the date, or you think that you need more time to study, or you are going on holidays. Whatever it is, it's one date fixed for all. Same time, same date for everyone. It doesn't matter if you are in Japan, if you are in Europe, or if you are in the US. The exam will be at the same time for all, meaning that if you are starting, you are based in Madrid, in Brussels, you're starting at 10 a.m. For those in Dublin, that is 1 hour less. They will be starting at 9. For those in Greece, that is 1 hour more, will be starting at 11 local time. This is important to remember. Also, another element, you will be using the new platform, ATO or TAO, TAO. It has some different names because change the acronym depends on the language you use. And this is a platform that is already available on the EPSO web page to see how is the interface. Relatively simple, not very complicated, very easy to grasp the settings. You can customize the brightness, the type of letter. You can introduce some settings to facilitate your visualization of the exam. That's it. The platform is limited in the sense that there's not much options, for instance, for the writing test. It's quite limited on that part, but for the rest, should be fine. Get familiar with it on the episode page. We will put the link there as well for you when you download the presentation so you can have access to it if you don't know where to find it. No problem. And of course, the general conditions, as usual, being national, having the military service done, the knowledge of two official languages. On that part, remember, language one, C1 level at least, C2. If you are native of the language, that's perfectly fine. I mean, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to provide any documentation to prove your level of languages. And same for the language 2, minimum B2. And the only requirement that is different from language 1. You can choose between among 24 official languages for language 1 and language 2. Can I choose Hungarian and Italian as language 1 and language 2? Yes. English and French? Sure. Spanish and Romanian? Absolutely. English and English? No. Not the same language. I mean, can I choose French and English? Yes, but not the same language. French and French? No, not possible. So language one and language two must be different. That's the only thing. And you don't need certificate. You don't need any evidence. The evidence is provided through the exam. If you can pass the exams on those languages, that's perfectly fine for them. And that will be connected to the test that you will be facing. So the reasoning test will be in language one, and the field related and the UFT or free text essay will be in language two. But wait, what is better? Should I do the reasoning in my native language? Let's say my case, Spanish. Should I do it in Spanish or in English, my working language? Up to you. Should I? No, there must be a right option. There is not right and wrong per se. There is best option for you and less efficient option for you. There are some of us generic. I would say some of us as a generic term that they work better in a certain language. So maybe for the reasoning, despite not being their native language, it's more efficient to do it in a working language. English, French, for instance, and they prefer to do the field related and the essay in Spanish. That will be my option because I'm used to do auditing in Spanish and I write in Spanish. Fair enough. But no, look, I'm a Spaniard, but I'm working in another country and I used to work in English all the time. So maybe for me it's better the field related in English and the writing in English and the reasoning in Spanish as well. Good. No, look, I mean, I'm native in French and Italian, but I think that when I'm doing an exam, I'm in a better mood when I taking it in Italian. So maybe language one Italian and field related and essay in French. Sure, you just practice, try different approaches. Use the EPSO exercises on the web to see if the language they use, the type of test that you are facing, you are good enough with the language that you have chosen or others. You can choose and you can change the languages until the very last day. I mean, until the day of submission of the uh, of the application. So you still have time to practice and to select. I mean, you have more than 1 month, if I remember correctly, the date. That's one thing. So, and now from the languages, I'm moving to the eligibility process. Okay, that is going to be connected to your academic background, but also your professional experience. Because it changes, depends on your academic background. It may differ the years of experience that you will need. This is important to remember because you have just a simple degree of 3 years. I'm saying this because I know in some countries the degrees cannot be less than 4 years, but some others can be up to 3 years. So depends on your situation. You know better than us. What have you studied at the university? What have you done? So you have university level studies of 3 years, and then you have 7 years of experience extracted from a list that we will share and we will show you in a couple of slides. And of those 7 years or 7 years plus 4 of relevant experience, those activities covered in Annex 2, that should be good enough. So meaning that minimum 7 years of experience up to 11 years as the threshold. Meaning because we will see that the experience required in point three and in Annex 2 are different. Okay, so that's the option number 1. But what about option number 2? So your studies were 4 years. Many degrees are 4 years. I'm looking at my fellow Spaniards who have studied in the old system previous to Bologna, and it was the licenciaturas at the time was 5 years studies, and in other countries it was the same case. So that should be fine. Option 2 could apply to you, although option 3 we will see it as well. But option 4, option 2, 4 years of studies plus 6 years of experience plus 4 years of relevant experience within the Annex 2. So meaning that between 6 and 10 years, that's the minimum threshold. Okay, we will see the conditions for that. And the option number 3, imagine that you have studied for 5 years, attested by a diploma. So you only need 5 years of experience plus 4 years of relevant experience. Again, we need between 5 and 9 years in this case. But in total, it's more or less 15 years. So what we see, maximum. So between one option and the other. So if we combine the years of studies plus the years of experience, up to that's the maximum. So, but what happened? I've been working in auditing for 25 years. Perfect. I mean, that should be more than enough for you. Yes, we're talking about the minimum. Whatever you goes above the threshold, that's perfectly fine. This is the minimum departing point, not the maximum. I'm talking about the minimum. Okay, I'm talking about the minimum. What about the 0.3.3c? What does it say? This says this. It includes this list of items. So we see that they include the field of audit. That's the obvious one, but that overlaps with the Annex 2. Accounting, managing financial resources, could be to some extent, but it has, for instance, managing procurement or grant procedures, practicing law. They don't say what kind of law. It's practicing law. So I've been a lawyer for 6 years, 7 years in my career, and then I moved into auditing, and I've been doing auditing for 4 years. That's perfectly fine. Or I have been a legal auditor for 8 years. So I've been auditing at the same time that working in legal practice. So there is a perfect overlap. So it's perfectly valid. Okay. So you will need between 5 and 7 years of experience on these activities. Remember to explain correctly. I will provide you some more light on this, but you need to explain these things. Don't say just, oh, I've been practicing law. Yeah, but you will need to provide some documents to give you evidence of that and explain in your application. Don't give it for granted. And something I will come back to it later, but always when you fill in your application, remember that you need to explain your application and submit it to someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know anything about you. So don't consider that everything is obvious. Just the opposite. Nothing is obvious. They need to go through your application. They need to understand that you fulfill all the criteria and all the elements included in your application. This is important. This is something to bear in mind when you are filling in your application, and particularly when you are trying to justify these 5 to 7 years of experience in these activities, in these 11 activities listed in the point 3.3c. And this is combined with Annex 2. Annex 2 is this one, the typical duties. So we see as a number of 8 typical duties. So you need to explain. The more duties that you have fulfilled, the better. Let's be honest, because it could be the case that if the duties, the activities you have performed as an auditor are limited, are not full-time, or are not visibly full-time, EPSO could consider some percentage. Instead of counting the full year, they count 50%, 75%, 25%. So that's why it's important that you explain everything that you have done in line with these duties. If you have done things that are not in line with these duties, those are not the ones that you have to explain. You have to explain everything that is related to the competition. And the board will have the last word on this part. And this is a criteria that align with the notice of competition will be decided by the board. So the more experience you can claim, the more experience you can explain, the better. I mean, if you have only 7 years of working experience as an auditor and that's all your working experience, fine. But if you have, let's say, 20 years, don't get overconfident and explain. It wouldn't be the first time that somebody failed eligibility because they didn't explain themselves in the application, despite having everything on their side. So don't get overconfident. Please explain things. And I know I'm repeating myself. I repeat myself a lot, but we say that because we've seen other candidates. The same cases that the candidates who passed the competition, but they failed eligibility for silly mistakes. And we don't want you to go through that because it's quite a nasty moment. Many cases we managed to help them to recover and to appeal and to get it through, but it's not guaranteed, and it's better not to reach that stage. Much better when you get just a letter saying congratulations, you've been selected, you are in the reserve list. Okay, so hope I made myself clear on this part, on the typical duties from the Annex 2 and the point 3.3c from the notice, what is described the overall activities for the 7 years, for 7 years, and from the Annex 2, the activities that up to minimum 4 years of relevant experience. Hope the message says, hope this point was very clear, but last element, I already mentioned it. Here in the notice, you have described how it is done in case they need to apply any correction factor, in case they see that, I mean, you've been working half time as an auditor and half time as a, I don't know, as a math teacher. So math teacher doesn't count for the auditing time, so they will count only 50%. I mean, if you've been working for 4 years in both jobs, it will count as 2 years, for instance. So it's in the notice. Hope this is clear. And there are no doubts. If there is any, don't hesitate to contact us on that part. And about the how to prove, how to give evidence of this experience, this is also important. Better, I really hope that you have all the documents. If you don't have them yet, you still have time to get them, to recover them. Okay, you have until the 30th of September to deliver all documents. But I mean, if you have them already at home, upload them. Don't wait until the end. Don't go until the end of the deadlines. Please upload the files. So you need to scan them. You need to have a copy of them, a digital copy of the originals. So those are ideals. Contracts, pay slips, for instance, recommendation letters where they describe everything that you have done. They are also quite useful because they are signed and stamped by the employer, and they describe what EPSO needs to know from your experience to consider that you are eligible. So, and also you can combine different documents. Sometimes in one document you have the dates, in another document you have the description of the task. Fine, upload both. There is not a limitation. It's not you can only upload one document. No, you can upload several. I mean, you just combine them in one PDF. That's it. Common sense applies. Guys, don't overcomplicate. But look, I'm being a freelance auditor. I've been working for others just on hire. So you will have invoices, you will have some kind of contract, email exchange, description of the task expected. All these elements can be used to provide evidence of your experience. Don't overcomplicate yourselves. Common sense. But just be sure that from the documents issue a clear picture of your working experience. Regarding the application itself, you will see that it's easy to reflect all this information. Here you have an example. This is from the CV part that you can upload files up to 20 megabytes for file. So could be picture format, PDF format. Don't be shy. Explain your experience in relation with the competition, with the auditing field. So don't leave it empty just because no, they are not interested. Or it's so obvious what I'm already uploading. It's so obvious that I've been working as an auditor. Are you sure? I mean, just because your job had audit on it or auditor, not necessarily it's obvious. So be sure that everything's crystal clear for anyone who doesn't know you. Okay, please. With that in mind, remember that you have to have a profile if you have it already in the single candidate portal. For those of you who are new in the EPSO competitions, remember this is the new portal since last year that all the candidates have to have a profile. Wait, but I have a profile in the old portal. No problem. You have a second profile, meaning new one, single profile here in the single candidate portal. Only if you work in the European institutions and you are planning to move from, especially from the Commission, soon you need to open a second profile here because you will need something that is connected to your personal email and not to your professional email. But this is a very particular situation, and you will get a warning about that if you are working in the institutions, particularly the commission, and you connect with your commission account. You will get that warning in case you are not a permanent officer and in more or less 1 year and a half you are leaving the commission, so they will advise you to use a personal email account for the competition, to register for the competition. But that's it. I mean, most of you are not working in the institutions yet. Hopefully after watching this webinar, passing the competitions, you will. So with that into account, just follow instructions. I know, seems obvious, since come on, can you explain? No, I mean, this is very clear. EPSO has made many mistakes, no doubt about it. But when they do good things, we must acknowledge. And the instructions and everything, all the webs on explaining how to do it are quite good. Personally, if you can, do it in English because the originals were drafted in English. Some languages, they are automatic translations. So they could be not perfect. There could be some words that are not fully clear. So better if you go to the English version. But there are a lot of guidelines, explanation, webs and sub-webs explaining all the different aspects, how to create a EU login profile, how to fill in the application. So everything is crystal clear there. So when we say read instructions, it's not a gratuitous advice. Really, we think it's useful. And it will take you 15 minutes, 20 minutes, no more than that. And it will save you a lot of time, a lot of worries going through that. So you will see that in the profile, you can bring the different, you can apply to different competitions. And you will see that you have the CV on one side that is already pre-fill in, or you can fill in and adapt for this competition, that it will be imported, transferred to your application. Remember that when you submit your application, it takes whatever it is on your CV and keep it. If you introduce, you reopen your application and you introduce changes in your CV, they will be updated in your application. But if you have submitted your application already and you change your CV, the changes won't be reflected in the application. You have to go back and do it manually. All this if you do it before 19th of May. After 19th of May, you can only upload documents in your application for auditors. You can change your CV for another competition. That's perfectly fine. But for auditors, you can only upload after the 19th of May until the 30th of September. Those are the rules of this game. So you will see a menu like this. You will have to click that you are national of member state. You will have to fill in all the registration data. It's quite straightforward. You will see at the bottom of the picture, at the bottom of the web, you will see some boxes that indicating the elements missing from your application. So it's quite easy to map what are the elements that you still need to add or you haven't done yet. So just read carefully. I mean, no need of more. So as I was saying before, the CV is part of your profile, but it's taken from the CV part of the overall portal. The CV is an external part on the portal that is exported, is brought to your application. Hope this is clear on that part. It's pretty simple, but still pay attention. And some particularities. So as I mentioned them, and I'm insisting, but I'm insisting because we've seen candidates who fail to do so. That's why we insist. We don't want to see it again. You can edit your application until the day of submission, until the very same date, noon. The application ends always at noon, not midnight, not during the night, no, noon. It wouldn't be the first time that the candidate, no, I will do it this afternoon. Oh, crap. We closed it 2 hours ago because it was noon, not evening. So noon always. And you can edit, change your application until then. Check the status of your application. It should be confirmed by yourself, or it should be submitted by you, especially if you have reopened it and you have touched it, you need to validate again, so to confirm again. So this is important because also it has happened that some candidates edit the application, they thought that it was fine, and they forgot to revalidate, to reconfirm again the application. So once it's been submitted, once the 19th of May noon it's done, your application can be touched. You cannot edit anything except adding files. And you have until the end of September. And of course, if you have submitted, let's say, 5 entries for your working experience, you're supposed to provide the documents for those 5 entries. No, look, I already provide documents for the 2 first because that's more than enough. I wrote 3 more, but no need because I mean, if you wrote it in your application, you need to prove it. You need to give evidence. If you didn't, of course, you don't have to. Don't do the opposite, that you provide more documents than those required because you have introduced experiences that are not listed in your application. So just if you put in your application, you provide the evidence. That's it. As simple as that. Hope I made myself clear on all this, and now I'm moving to the evaluation part. Easy peasy. So how is it going to be? Remember, you will have to take all the exams together, all the tests together, but EPSO will evaluate first the reasoning, and they will say, okay, did the candidate pass the reasoning? Good. So I will score the multiple choice. Did you score among the 672 best candidates in the MCQ? If it's so, if it's yes, then you will see your written reviewed. And then from there, for the 400 candidates that will get into the reserve list. Okay. Those are the conditions. The process is quite straightforward. There's not much problem on that part, or shouldn't be. I think it's pretty clear. And this has been the process so far with the last couple of years competitions. So now it's a well-trained process by the institutions. And talking about the process, how long that's going to take, when is going to be the exam, right? Or bet. This is our personal guess based on what we know and what we have seen in other competitions. Only that. You will have until the 19th of May for the application, clear. You will have until the 30th of September for uploading the documents. And the exams, our bet is that they will happen before, or the exam, the test, will happen before the summer break. But under condition that this month of April, that we have 2 competitions, 2 exams, they run smoothly and there's no IT problems. If there are no IT problems, we think that your competition will go fast before the 85 graduates, for instance. That is another challenge. So be ready for doing your exam before the summer, not after the summer. By the way, the summer break in the institutions is between the 15th of July to the 15th of August, more or less, a few days up, a few days down. So, because I know that in some other countries, the summer break is August, some others July, or July and August. Yeah, but not when we talk about summer break in the institutions, we say 15th of July, 15th of August. So could it be the 1st of July, the exam of the competition? Yes, it could be. That could be the case. for instance, just to give you an idea. But in any case, before the summer break. And then the reserve list, the results. If EPSO managed to fill in the expectations, should be at the end of 2026, could be early 2027, but not. Don't wait the results before December of the year. EPSO is taking even longer than expected to deliver the results to all the candidates. So that's something that we need to bear in mind. And I know that some of you will be asking, but wait, on the web page they put first the uploading documents and then the test. So it's clearly that the tests are coming after the 30th of September. No, the answer is no, because now EPSO is doing things right. They didn't do it in the first competition. They forgot to add what you see there framed in red, this asterisk, the saying the sequence of steps 2 and 3 may be reversed in line with EPSO operational needs. Any such changes will be communicated by EPSO in due time. So this is important because people tend to, no, it's fixed. They already tell me that the testing goes after 30th of September. No, they didn't. They just gave you an indicative calendar. This is not official. The official calendar will be transmitted through your profile or through the portal. Those are the official communications plus the deadlines or the dates marked in the notice of competition. That's it. Everything that appears on the web is intended to help you, to assist you, but it's indicative. So it has no legal validity. Please take it always with a pinch of salt. So don't get confused with that. I'm insisting because many candidates come to us saying, okay, no, but come on, the exam is after the summer in this case. Clearly, because they say 3rd of September for the documents. And it's always the case that they put the exam after the upload of documents. No, it's not always the case. Just the contrary. Most common case, you do the exam before the deadline to upload the documents. By the way, that's the deadline. You can upload the documents already when you apply. So don't wait until the 30th of September. That's another advice from a friend. Just saying, up to you. And then you will be wondering, okay, what about the test, right? How are we going to tackle it? What are you planning? Good, let's go for it. First item we want to reach your attention. The exam is long. It will take you the whole day. If it follow the schedule for same as other competitions, you will start at 10 Central European time, Madrid, Brussels, Rome, or Paris. At 10 a.m., you will do the reasoning, 65 minutes altogether, not stops, all in once. Then you will have a break. And noon, 12:30, more or less, you will do the multiple choice. And then by 2 p.m., 3 p.m., you will do the write-on, meaning that don't take the exam thing or don't go to the exam thinking, oh no, I can just, I will take the morning and I will work in the afternoon. No, take the day off. And it will take you the whole day. So, or advice. So, long breaks between. We are not expecting they will be shortened those times between the exams. So, just saying, take the day. Then, regarding the reasoning, what can we say? First of all, you only need to score 10 out of 20 for the verbal, 10 out of 20 in combined numerical and abstract. Not big deal, easy peasy. But above all, the worst enemy that we've seen so far is in the verbal. The verbal is creating some havoc between the candidates because sometimes they get overconfident. Sometimes, and it's most of the cases, they get surprised by the difficulty of the exercise. EPSO has improved a lot the reasoning test, especially verbal. They got better, honestly. So they're tough. They are tough. So there are many candidates, despite taking the verbal reasoning in their native language, they fail the verbal reasoning. They get 9, 8 points instead of 10. So don't get overconfident. That kills. And also don't get nervous. Because for numerical and abstract, if you keep calm, sure, you can have a first exercise that looks awful, that is very difficult. You just mark randomly one option and you move on. Don't forget that you don't get negative points. You don't score negative. So you just, if you don't know or you think that you are going to spend a lot of time, you just click randomly one option and move to the next one. And I'm sure that after a few exercises, you will see that the exercises are not so difficult. Sometimes we have detected the pattern in the exam that the first exercises are more difficult than the last ones. Also, it's a good way to create panic between the candidates. But in reality, you only need 10 out of 20. So it's not so difficult to get to the score, but just be focused and concentrated on each exercise. And also be careful with fatigue. 1 hour, 5 minutes working on the reasoning test without stop can be difficult, especially reaching the reasoning after reasoning right at the end when you have 1 minute per exercise. So fatigue plays a factor. So train yourself with that in mind. Do the exercises all in a row so you know how you react when you have to deal with the three tests together. That was for the reasoning. But what about the written? For the written, simple 40 minutes, and that's a big challenge. You only have 40 minutes because they will give you the document 2 weeks in advance. So that's not a problem, and you don't need to study for this exam per se. You don't need to learn by heart the documents that you're provided. You need to understand them because the day of the exam they will give you the assignment. Write a report, write a briefing, or draft a speech for the commissioner, whatever, on a certain subject extracted from the document provided by EPSO. With that in mind, the thing that you need to prepare in advance. Once you get the document, it's very important that you analyze the document, you prepare different exercises, different considerations, so you can practice and do something realistic the day of the exam. Because talking about realism, what they are going to assess in your document is not a perfect knowledge on the dossier. No, I mean, that wouldn't be realistic. Realistic is that in 40 minutes, you can produce a text that is well structured, it's clear. They're already giving you the anchors, the evaluation points. So the structure is the first part. The second, you write concisely. In 40 minutes, there's a limit to what you can write. So it's not about writing more words, but it's about writing meaningful sentences, meaningful ideas that they don't need many words to be supported. Also, you have to be clear on what's the subject, what's the matter. So it needs to be a text that is goes straightforward from the top to the bottom clearly. That's part of the needs. If you just do a mess in your writing, what are you going to do? I mean, this is not good thing. I mean, you just make it crystal clear what you're providing. And also you adapt to the audience. Sometimes you will be given that, okay, the commission is talking to a group of journalists. The language that you may use is different to the one that if your commissioner is talking to a group of member states or lobbyists, or if you're writing to your colleagues that who are meeting other colleagues. Depends who your audience. Your style should be different. The jargon, the technical specifications are different. And of course, you can only use the document provided. Even if you are the best expert ever on the topic, you don't have to show it. You just need to use the document provided, and that's all the information you need. So you don't need to worry. You don't need to look somewhere else. Imagine they give you a text on climate change, on what the commission is doing against climate change, and you decide to study everything that the commission has done in the last 20 years against climate change. For what? You just use the document provided. You don't need to know anything else. Can you use some external knowledge that is well known? For instance, there are 27 member states, and imagine that they don't say that in the document provided. But still, it's a piece of knowledge that's widely known. Or the Earth is round. Fine, they don't say it in the document, but I can say that. Or these kind of things. Or the fact that in the European Union there are microstates. There are Vatican, Andorra. Well, I don't know if that will be valid for your ideas or for the text, but it's a well-known knowledge, no problem. But again, if some specific elements on the policy, on the action, on the topic of the text that you only know because of your work, your professional experience, or anything else that is not related to EPSO, you don't need it. You don't have to use it. And you can be penalized if you use it to create a difference between you and the other candidates. So don't think that you are smarter because you are using it. Just the contrary. Hope I made some clear with the writing. But what about the multiple choice? Yeah, I was leaving it for the last. So on the multiple choice, we have a here again 40 minutes, 30 questions. No problem if you fail one question, still doesn't score, but it's not negative. You just get 1 point for each question that you reply correctly. All of you will get the same questions. The order of the question may differ, but in general, in principle, all of you get the same. What we are seeing is that we expect horizontal questions, meaning accessible to all profiles. If you go to Annex 2, this one. You see that there are audits for IT systems, but also writing audits reports, so some that are more economic. The methodologies could differ. So the thing is that we are not expecting something very specific to one profile or one area of auditing, something that only those working in that area or that profile can know. Now, we expect something more generic, something more about the general rules of auditing, methodologies, something that any auditor, any person with some experience in the field can really know. Remember that the board who will decide the questions are auditors themselves. So we expect that kind of correlation, not again, not a very academic approach or concrete in a way that they leave out several fields contemplated in Annex 2, but just the contrary, elements that could cover as many points as possible from this Annex 2. That's the idea on how we see the multiple choice will be. And regarding some sources, so we just cover a few of them. So we took as a reference the European institutions for the Court of Auditors, their general procedures, their methodology, the internal audit service. So I think that this could be useful for you as a reference for studying. And by the way, these all are free access, so you just need to click on the links or just Google them, and you will find them. So feel free to use our advice, and if you like it, of course, and especially for those watching the video later, please don't forget to click like on that part. Jokes aside, and just to end and move to your questions, what else can we do for you? Remember, we have a lot of trainings for you. We've been having working groups for building competitions, data management, reasoning test, multiple choice for 85 graduates, but not only. We are preparing a study group for auditors. We will provide you news soon in a few days' time when we have all the elements, because remember, we always customize our approach. We never launch a new training without having the notice of competition in our hands, because we want to be sure that we are customizing to the latest rules, inputs, and elements introduced by EPSO. We want to be precise and we want to stick to what EPSO is requiring. That's why we don't do it in advance, but it's coming, I promise. And then on top of that, don't forget to follow us on Telegram or WhatsApp, because you will get all the information. Everything we do will be published there. In case you got notice of this webinar last minute, or you just found this video randomly on the internet, so no problem, just subscribe to them and you will be able to follow any novelty and everything we do. As well, we provide some useful advice on how to prepare competitions, some free resources to prepare. So it's not only our trainings, but everything else that we do is announced there, as well as on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And of course, as I said before, if you like it, if you found this training useful, this webinar useful, don't forget to click like, for the algorithm that they always appreciate this kind of reaction. That's life. But talking about life, now life says that we want you, we want your questions, we want to address them. So I will start reading the chat to see what are the questions. So, well, first question on the chat is, will you have training? Yes, I just explained that. So good that I already did. Just wait a few days and I will circulate the information. Only pass a morphosity to have a review using multiple choice test, not only those who highlight score. In principle, if I'm not mistaken, yes, you only have to pass the reasoning test and you will see your multiple choice score. Believe me, there are a lot of people who failed the reasoning already. So not big deal. It's in 85 graduates is a different criteria, but for you, we follow the notice. Very likely the exam will be before 85 graduates. 85 graduates is expected to be after the summer. So yours, I think it will be earlier. And also it will be useful for EPSO to check the platform, how it operates against a certain number of candidates. Although they are having a good test now at the end of April with the data management, where they have 5,500 candidates, more or less. I'm reading the question from Violeta. If we apply for several competitions, we need to adapt CV. CV should be different to each competition. Did I understand correctly? This is not possible. How to go around this? Yeah, It's possible, meaning you need to apply first to one competition, submit your application, and then edit your CV again for the second competition. And if they don't overlap, what you can do is just prepare everything and wait until the application period is done on one competition, and immediately after fill in your CV and your application for the second competition. So in that way, you avoid any risk of mixing or reopening the other application, because once the application period is closed, you cannot touch it. So, and this is a case that is happening now with the internal competition in the commission. There is an 87 competition, internal competition in the European Commission, and they have to use the same portal, single candidate portal. So if you want to apply to both, my suggestion will be apply first to the internal competition because its deadline is earlier, and then apply to the auditors. So you avoid any mixing and you're sure that what you are changing for each one. But you will see that the content of your application differs if you have edited your CV, applied for one, and then you edit your CV and apply for another. So that's the way you can avoid this problem. You can get around it, to go around it. Okay, there are more questions on the chat. I see. The reserve list, for how long do they last? Usually now they're policing 2.5 years, 3 years. So should be more than enough, but in any case, from the past, EPSO always extended the reserve list. I don't know if that's going to be the rule from now on for the new competitions, but at least in the past, they always extended the deadlines, the reserve list, until they were almost empty. So because the resources and everything that's needed. So we're expecting that this will be your case, but we need to wait until 2028 to know that for the first reserve list that were under the new model. Sorry, one moment. I'm trying to go. Okay. Natalia, thank you for the presentation. I have a question. You're welcome, by the way. The reserve list is not useful for agencies such as ICEA. That will depend. Some agencies, they can recruit from the reserve list. That up to, if I remember correctly, they mentioned European institutions in your notice. They didn't list the institutions. So it will be, once the reserve list has been created, to check if the agencies are allowed or willing to recruit from that reserve list. I know in some cases they did. The study group, some surface intend to create in the next few days, compare the 3 tests. Yes. In fact, a lesson that we learned in the past. A couple of years ago, first study groups only included multiple choice and written. We say, okay, let's not include reasoning because people tell us that they have already all their materials, they've done fine on reasoning. And what happened is that our candidates in our study groups, they failed the reasoning more than anything else. The few that fail, to represent the few that fail in the reasoning, while in the multiple choice and in the written, almost everybody passed. So what the hell? So they say, okay, we are not taking any chance, any risk. Now our trainings, if it's our responsibility to help you, we will do all the states just to be sure that we cover all the possibilities. Of course, there will be a part that it has to be done by you, but from our side, we are doing our best to help you. Well, I'm a bit puzzled. The liability is, for example, public procurement, but in the annex, it is not included in the duties. How can we describe it? As I mentioned, it could be the case that you have 7 years of experience according to point 3.3c, for instance, legal practice, but this legal practice, it wasn't done in auditing at all. So based on the second criteria, you will need 4 years more of experience in the areas covered by the Annex 2, meaning that in total, in practice, you may need up to 11 years of working experience. So on 12, 14 years of 14, 15 years of plus your studies. So that's the thing. Best scenario, you've been working as an auditor for 7 years. That covers point 3.3c, and that covers as well Annex 2, 4 years of required experience. So could be the case that from 5 years to 11 years. Could be the case that you need to provide experience. Depends what has been your experience. There are some people who had been auditors all their lives, some others who change jobs and they move to auditing field, audited area later, or they did auditing first and they move to another professional area after. So just to cover these possibilities, that's why those are criteria are like this. But it's true that it's not the most straightforward criteria at first. Going okay, Dimitris. On eligibility, in particular, on the 4 years required in line with Annex 2 audit, if my functions on it is I have a example, policy development, general program management, external relations, and external audit, does it mean that the only 25% of the time will be considered relevant? If you can only if all the experience, all the evidence that you can bring makes clear that you've been working in these 4 areas at the same time, it may be the case. If you provide documents, evidence, what they say, they only talk about your external audit experience, I don't see a reason why they should not consider 100%. Hope I made myself clear. EB, do you recommend to include in your document providing experience the percentage of your audit activities? For instance, 50% of my tasks are linked to audit. That will depend that if in the documents that you're providing is clearly that you have other experiences that are not audit related. That case, I will explain. But if you don't get any benefit of explaining the percentage and all the documents support the fact that you've been working up to 100% of your time on the task, up to you to explain. Do you know whether the CBT, the computer-based test, reasoning test for AD7 is usually more difficult than AD5? If we compare to 85 graduates, no, I don't think so. Because 85 graduates will be the toughest. Just because of the number of candidates, you need to eliminate a lot of candidates in that competition, so meaning that the reason will be the hardest possible. So for your competition should be similar or lower even. For numerical, expect a bit maybe a bit higher. As usually auditing you associate it with numerical reason, but that's it. But overall, if you compare to 85 graduates, this should be same or lower, most likely lower difficulty. Yes, 4 years in audit is necessarily obligatory. Yeah, that's clear. The notice is clear on that part. I'm afraid so. It's only if you can combine these 4 years with the other relevant experience required or not. This is not exactly audit, but it's included. Natalia mentioned designing, managing, implementing, overseeing, evaluating projects. Yes. Does it mean that the EU project management is considered as experience, even if the tasks are related to implementation drafting, not only in financial audit? Yes, that's the thing. I mean, the point 3.3c contains a series of tasks that not necessarily align or overlap with the Annex 2. That's why they mention different quantity of years for the point 3.3c list of tasks or duties and the Annex 2. They are different. It could happen that in your professional life they overlap. Fine, excellent. It could happen that in your professional life they don't overlap at all. You've done for some years some experience, for some other years other experience. That's not a problem. I mean, the most difficult criteria I think here is to have the 4 years of auditing experience, because the moment you have a career of 7-8 years, that should be fine. But then be sure that you have the 4 years of auditing, because the other part is the point 3.32 is I think is far more generous on that part. I mean, if we just go back to it, when we have it, I mean, you see here managing procurement process, financial resources, experience in field of audit, that's the obvious one, but practicing law, consulting services, or performing taxation of custom-related tasks, not necessarily it's audit. So the same managing, implement our senior evaluation projects. So I think here's broader. Well, in the Annex 2, things are a bit narrow or compare. But that's why the 4 years is a bit more difficult than the 7 years or the 5 years, but still it's doable. provided you have the experience. I mean, if you just graduated, sorry, I mean, it's just a matter of physical time to have the 7 years of experience. We go to the question from Violetta. Do you know whether EPSO will publish other specialist competition before summer? And thank you for this great presentation. Well, thanks to you. Thank good you like it. We don't know yet because EPSO has indicated in their webpage, you will see the other competitions. Some of them, they are about for specialists, if not all of them, to be precise. But the dates are not public yet. We don't know. Honestly, personal opinion, I think the earliest will come some other competitions to apply during the summer and for the exams after the summer. I think, as they have now, they have already enough on their plate, especially with 85 graduates. So not so sure how much they are willing to overcomplicate themselves with other competitions, especially because the next one announced is secretaries that could concentrate a lot of candidates as well. But to be seen. I think the key moment will be today and on the 29th when the exam for data management on the 29th. Today, as building candidates are having their exam. How it goes with the platform. If it went well, so things will move fast. But if there are some technical issues, then it will be still low pace. We will inform. I mean, just follow us, and the moment we have news on this part, accurate news, because we don't like to reflect rumors, we will let you know. Dear Inyo, thank you so much for this helpful presentation. Good, glad you like it. One last clarification: it's your estimation that the test will be before the summer break, or it's a rumor from EPSO? It's our estimation. As I tried to make it clear before, everything that we just calculate personally based on our experience, we say it as such. If it's EPSO information, something I like always, as you see on the screen, is to provide you with a screenshot. Because just to make it crystal clear, this is from EPSO. In the case of the calendar, this is what we have here. It's indicative, and this is our estimations, personal estimation. For the study group, we expect to announce it soon, probably next week. And for next week, we will share the info on that part. Just follow on Telegram or WhatsApp or register in our newsletter to begin in May. The idea will be to begin in the month of May with the first session. So thank you, everyone. Hope you found it useful. Please don't leave it for the last day, the registration in the competition. The sooner you do it, the better. You have any question, any doubt, don't hesitate to contact us. Remember, this video will be uploaded on YouTube, and you will have access to all the information from there. Okay, so thank you, everyone.